They thought leaving the mountain meant touching freedom. But freedom only showed them a new footprint. On the white bone summit, surrounded by cold wind and a sea of clouds, a massive track was pressed deep into the pale stone dust. Its edges were sharp. The white dust had not yet been erased by the wind. It was wider than a human body, heavier than any step the Red Valley tribe had ever seen. Kael Stonefang knelt beside it. He placed his hand on the edge of the track, real sunlight catching the scar that ran from his left cheek down to his chin. The footprint was fresh, and it did not belong to the mountain bearer. Asha crouched low beside the stone. She studied the way the white dust had been dragged toward the cloud sea. The way moisture gathered inside the print. The way tiny stones had been pushed aside. She had learned to read water. She had learned to read roots. She had learned to read stone. Now she read the wind. This footprint had not only crossed the summit. It was leading down. The Red Valley tribe stood in silence on the white bone summit. They had sky above them, real light on their skin, real wind moving through their hair and animal hides. But they still had no ground beneath them to call home. Behind them was the mountain that had tried to swallow them with stone. Roots, breath, and ancient memory. Ahead of them was a world that had never promised to welcome them. The boy from the tribe held his small wooden triceratops tightly against his chest. He stared at the chain of giant footprints disappearing into the clouds. To him, that footprint was not just the mark of a monster. It was the first question of the new world. Far out in the cloud sea, something enormous moved slowly through the mist. They could see only a gray-white back rising above the clouds, and two curved horns fading in and out beneath the pale light. A deep call rolled across the mountain peaks. It was not the roar of a hunter. It was not the scream of anger. It sounded like the voice of a creature that had crossed paths humans had never dared to name. The Red Valley chief looked at the footprint, then at his people. He understood that a summit was not a place to live. It was only a place to choose a direction. Kael lifted his stone spear. Asha adjusted the bow across her shoulder. Together, they looked toward the footprints vanishing into white. Kael did not know if the creature ahead was a predator or a guide. But he knew it knew the way down. He said, "If it walks through the clouds, we learn how to follow." And the tribe stepped into the cloud sea. From far away, the clouds had looked soft, almost gentle, but once they entered them, they were cold, wet, and far more dangerous than anyone expected. They could only see a few steps ahead. The stone beneath their feet was slick as wet skin. Wind moved through the cliffs, then vanished, leaving behind the sound of open space below. The cloud sea did not hide the sky. It hid the fall. They were not following a clear road. They were following dents left behind in stone. Sometimes the giant tracks appeared beneath the low mist. Sometimes they disappeared as if they had never existed. Asha tied leather ropes around small groups. She connected the tribe in short sections. So if their eyes betrayed them, the rope would still tell them who was beside them. Inside the clouds, seeing was not enough. They had to feel one another. Kael moved at the front, testing each patch of stone with his spear. Every time the spear tip touched down, he listened for the answer. Solid stone, hollow stone, cracked stone, wet stone. Kael did not trust the ground just because it was beneath his feet. Then the wind split the clouds for one short moment. Beside the path was a drop so deep they could not see the bottom. One wrong step would not echo for long. It would simply disappear into white. The tribe tightened their formation. Elders were brought inward. Children were kept safely in the center. Not because they were weak. Because the future had to be protected at the heart. Then the giant footprints stopped at the edge of a gap between two rocky outcrops. Ahead, there was only cloud. No one knew if stone waited on the other side, or if there was only empty air. Asha took a small bone, tied it to a leather cord, and lowered it into the white. Everyone listened. The bone fell and fell, swallowed by the mist, until a tiny sound came back from below. Stone. Asha could not see the path, so she listened for it. Kael watched the movement of the clouds, the shift of the wind, the shape of the empty space. Then he understood. Beneath the white layer was a narrow stone ridge. It only revealed itself when the wind moved the right way. The path had not vanished. It was waiting for the wind. A strong gust swept through. The clouds pulled apart like a curtain. The stone cloud bridge appeared, a slick, narrow ridge connecting the two outcrops across the void. It looked like a promise that would only last a few breaths. Kael stepped onto it first. He held his spear sideways for balance. He went first not because he was unafraid. He went first because frightened people still need to see someone take the first step. The tribe crossed in small groups. Leather ropes connected one person to the next. Asha watched the wind and gave signals, when to step, when to stop, when to breathe. They did not cross with speed. They crossed with one shared breath. When the final group reached the other side, the clouds closed behind them. And on a distant ridge, the enormous creature was waiting. It stood in the mist like part of the mountain itself. 4 long legs like stone pillars. A back covered in gray-white fur and mountain moss. 2 great curved horns rising through the fog. Clouds wrapped around its body like an ancient cloak. It was nothing like the mountain bearer. It did not carry black mud. It did not carry volcanic ash. It carried clouds, stone, and time on its back. The tribe stood before it, small as sparks before living cliff. Kael kept his spear low. Asha held her bow, but she did not draw the string. And in that moment, they understood something. Not every giant thing comes to kill. The creature looked at them with huge eyes that reflected clouds and pale sky. It looked as if it had seen many lost tribes between the peaks. And not all of them had survived. Kael lowered his spear even more. He did not kneel. He did not surrender. But he showed the creature he was not looking for a fight. Kael had learned that sometimes survival begins by refusing to turn the unknown into an enemy. Asha studied the creature's footprints. She saw that every step had landed on the strongest points of hidden stone. Places human eyes could never have recognized beneath the clouds. Then she understood. This creature did not simply walk through clouds. It knew where the clouds could still hold life. The boy looked up at its giant legs, then down at the wooden figure in his hand. He saw a monster, but inside its silence, he also saw a road. The cloud walker slowly turned its head. Then it began to walk down another ridge. It would not wait forever. It only showed them the direction. The chief looked at Kael. He did not ask if Kael was certain. In this world, certainty was a luxury no one had left. Kael looked at Asha. Asha nodded. They did not follow the creature because they trusted it. They followed because there was no better road. Each footprint of the Cloudwalker became a small island in a white sea. The tribe moved from one print to the next, still linked by leather ropes, still breathing together between cloud and abyss. But even the road of a giant was not immortal. One old footprint was cracked through the middle. Wet stone had split beneath a thin layer of moss. Then the clouds rose again, swallowing the tracks ahead. Asha stood still and let the wind touch her face. She felt the moisture, the direction of the air, and the hidden emptiness beneath the mist. This time, she was not reading the ground. She was reading the part of the ground that had disappeared. Kael stood at the edge of the white and did not rush. He had learned that courage was not always the first step. Sometimes courage was knowing when to wait. Asha pointed into the clouds. Kael lowered his spear. The tip touched stone. Beneath the white emptiness, there was still a path. If someone knew how to listen to the wind. The tribe moved on. They were no longer only running from death. They were learning how to walk inside a new world. But the past did not let them leave without calling their names. Far behind them, the white mountain trembled. A burst of red vapor exhaled from the skull's eye socket. A muffled roar rolled across the cloud sea, like an ancient breath still trapped inside stone. The tribe turned back. Fear returned to many faces. The thing they had left inside the mountain had not escaped. But it had learned that humans had found a way to the sky. Kael looked at the red vapor behind them, then at the Cloudwalker ahead. He understood that if the mountain broke open, his tribe would not be the only thing in danger. The whole sky would hear it. The Cloudwalker stopped too. It turned its horned head toward the mountain, breathing red into the clouds. In the creature's giant eyes, the red glow reflected beside the tiny shapes of the tribe. It did not fear the sound the way humans did. But it remembered. Then the creature lifted its head and released a deep, resonant call. The sound rolled through the clouds, low and powerful, splitting the mist in long waves. It was not a threat. It was a road song. The cloud sea opened. A long ridge appeared, stretching downward toward lower peaks and a hidden valley beyond. For the first time, the way down became clear. Asha understood immediately. The cloud door would not stay open long. She signaled the tribe forward. They did not run in panic. They ran in the order Pain had taught them. One group after another moved down the ridge. Leather ropes stretched between them. Stone broke loose behind them and fell silently into the cloud sea. The road closed behind them one piece at a time. A warrior slipped. Kael turned and caught him by the rope before he could fall from the edge. Kael did not let speed become selfishness. Asha fired an arrow tied to a leather cord across a narrow gap, creating a new hold for the group behind her. She turned the wind into an enemy, and the rope into an answer. Ahead, the cloud walker stood sideways against the mountain wind. Its gray-white fur and moss-covered back shook beneath the blast. Because of its enormous body, the tribe crossed the most dangerous ridge without being taken by the wind. The creature did not save them like a god. It only stood long enough for the wind not to swallow them. The boy looked up into the creature's shadow. Some of the fear left his eyes. He began to understand that sometimes something enormous is not darkness. Sometimes it is shade. At last, the cloud sea began to thin. Below them, real land appeared. The clouds opened to reveal a wide green valley, ancient forest, a shining lake, open grasslands, small herds moving in the distance. Sunlight fell through the mist like a cautious promise. Below the clouds, a new world was breathing. For the first time since ash had swallowed their homeland, the Red Valley tribe saw a place that might be able to feed human beings. The chief looked down at the valley. Tears filled his eyes but did not fall. He did not call it home. He had lost too much to name anything too soon. Kael looked at the valley, but he did not lower his spear. He saw hope, but his instincts still searched for danger first. Asha saw the Cloudwalker's footprints leading down a safer slope. The creature had not only led them downward, it had chosen the path that would not collapse. The tribe descended from the sky like people being born a second time. Between white stone and mountain wind, a single green blade of grass grew from a crack in the rock. It trembled in the light. After so much stone, fire, and darkness, even one blade of grass could feel like a miracle. The boy touched it with one finger. This time, what he touched was not memory, not fossil, not false light. It was real life. The lower they went, the thinner the clouds became. Green grew sharper. The sound of mountain winds slowly changed into leaves, water, and distant birds. Every step downward carried them farther from the death inside the mountain. Then finally, they reached the valley floor. Soft earth waited beneath their feet. Many of them did not move at first. They just stood there, trying to believe it was real. The chief knelt and took a handful of soil. It fell through his fingers. Soil. Not cold stone. Not burning ash. Soil. The valley had water, trees, animals, and enough quiet for hope to begin. But Asha quickly noticed deep claw marks carved high into the trunk of a nearby tree. The grooves were higher than a human head. The torn bark was still fresh. A land that could feed humans. Could feed other things too. Kael looked at the claw marks, then at the Cloudwalker's footprints continuing into the forest. He understood the guide had not brought them to empty land. It had brought them to land that already had an owner. The Cloudwalker stopped at the edge of the forest. It turned and looked at the tribe one final time. 4 legs like pillars, a back covered in low cloud and mountain moss, curved horns rising in the late light. Kael lowered his spear and gave a small bow. He did not know if the creature was a guardian, a guide, or simply a beast following its own path. but he knew they were alive because they had followed it. Then the creature left, stepping into the low mist between forest and valley, carrying the clouds on its back like an ancient cloak. The tribe stood in the new land. They had found ground, but they did not know that the ground would accept them. That first night in the valley, they did not celebrate. They built a small camp beneath large stones. They did not make a large fire, only a low flame, just enough to warm them, just enough to see one another's faces. They learned how to be quiet in a land that did not yet know their name. Asha set warning lines around the camp with leather cords, dry bones, and small stones. She did not trust peace when it arrived too quickly. Kael walked the edge of the camp with his spear on his shoulder. Reading the shadows of the forest, he had brought them to new ground, but the first night always belonged to whatever had lived there before. The boy placed his wooden triceratops beside a blade of grass, then slept close to the adults. For the first time in a long time, he slept on soft earth. But his sleep was guarded by people who were not ready to dream. Night fell. The valley became beautiful enough to feel dangerous. A pale moon hung above. Mist crawled through the grass. The shining lake reflected the night. Insects and water made the place sound almost like a dream. Then the silence touched a string. One of Asha's bone warning lines trembled. There was no wind. Asha opened her eyes instantly. Her hand reached for her bow before fear had time to take a shape. Kael was already standing at the edge of the camp, as if he had never slept. Maybe he heard it, or maybe some part of him had never stopped listening. At the forest's edge, between the dark tree trunks, small glowing eyes appeared low to the ground. Not one giant monster, not a roar, just many small eyes. And that was what made it worse. In the soft soil around the camp, small predator tracks circled the firelight. They were light, quick, silent. The valley did not only have giants. It had hunters that knew how to move without being heard. Kael raised one hand, signaling not to strike first. Asha lowered her arrow slightly, but kept her bow ready. Kael had learned from the forest. Not every unknown thing had to become an enemy right away. One small predator stepped out of the darkness. It stopped at the edge of the firelight, sniffing the strange smoke. Behind it, more eyes watched in silence. The first night did not test them with strength. It tested them with patience. The boy woke and saw the eyes beyond the fire. He held his wooden figure tight, but he did not scream. Even the child had learned that a scream could wake more than fear. Then, from deep inside the valley, a low roar rolled through the trees. Immediately, the smaller predators retreated into the dark. Leaves trembled. The distant lake shivered. The whole tribe froze in the small ring of firelight. That roar reminded them all that the small eyes were not the owners of this place. Kael stared into the dark forest. Firelight burned across the scar on his face. He understood that they had found a land that could sustain human life. And because it could sustain life, something would defend it. The view rose above the small camp in the valley. The low fire glowed between stones and ancient trees. The smaller eyes vanished into the forest. Farther away, in mist and moonlight, a larger shadow stood still. Its eyes opened. Kael Stonefang had brought the tribe to the valley beyond the clouds. But before this place could become home, they would have to meet the one who had claimed it first.